Today, we are diving deep into something that really dictates how you feel, how you focus, and how you basically function.
It's the engine, really.
Exactly, the chemical engine behind our anticipation, our motivation, and let's be honest, our biggest distractions. We're talking about how to take back control of your own brain's reward system.
And this is so timely, isn't it?
It really is. The roadmap for this whole journey comes from a fantastic new guide. It's Nick Trenton's Master Your Dopamine. How to Rewire Your Brain for Focus and Peak Performance. It's a 2025 release, and it sits right at that intersection of, self-help, behavioral science, and just practical psychology.
I think what's so powerful about it is how universal the problem he's tackling has become.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. How many times have you woken up already feeling drained, and the very first thing you do is reach for your phone, and then you struggle to get the willpower to do anything that actually matters?
hmm It's like our brains are under this constant siege. You've got the endless scroll, the notification pings, these tiny, cheap, immediate rewards.
And Trenton's point is that this leads directly to distraction,
Mhm.
to being chronically tired,
Mhm.
and that really frustrating feeling of not getting anything done.
But that feeling, that cognitive overload, it's not a moral failing. I think that's a key takeaway. He says it's a system failure.
A system failure. I like that.
Yeah, he argues really forcefully that this feeling of being drained and just pulled in 1,000 directions, that doesn't have to be your reality. And the solution isn't just, try harder. It's not about brute willpower.
Because that runs out.
It always runs out. It's about understanding and actively reshaping the neurochemistry that's driving your habits in the first place.
So that's our mission for you today. We're going to break down the core ideas from the book. We'll walk through 6 really crucial narrow-back lessons, and each one has a simple analogy to make it stick. And then we'll give you 10 immediate, actionable steps you can use to start mastering your dopamine, like right now.
And it's important to stress, this isn't just about changing your behavior on the surface. We're really looking at how to move from being reactive and distraction-driven.
Always looking for that next hit.
Exactly. To becoming truly intentional. And in today's world, with this overload of information, that is probably the most essential skill you can have. It's a superpower.
Okay, let's unpack the foundational idea then, the thing the whole book is built on. Dopamine. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just necessary. But how we interact with it, especially now, is critical.
Right. The central thesis is that dopamine itself is not the enemy. You absolutely need it. It's what drives you to explore, to learn, to take action.
It's the get up and go chemical.
Totally. The danger, and this is the core of it, is the constant unearned high-dose pursuit. That's the phrase he uses. It's that chase that creates these misfired reward loops where you get a huge chemical payoff for almost zero effort.
And what does that do to our brains?
Well, it leads to a total neglect of our internal regulation system, and that's what really undermines our focus, our productivity, and our ability to find any real meaning in work that actually takes effort.
It's the great modern trap, isn't it? And it feels like it's been engineered to be that way.
It has been. Every part of digital life, from the vibration in your pocket to the endless stream of likes, it's all structured to give you these short, sharp, easy bursts of dopamine.
And Trenton explains that this constant chasing just fundamentally diminishes our ability to feel content with, say, slow progress, or to have the patience for a long-term goal that's going to have a huge payoff, but, way down the line.
Which then brings up this really important question. Why does this matter so much right now? I mean, humans have always had distractions.
Yeah, but not like this. Not this potent.
Not personalized, not in our pocket 24/7. Trenton argues that attention has become the new currency. And every digital platform out there has teams of people, sometimes neuroscientists, designing ways to strip you of it.
By hijacking those dopamine loops.
Precisely. The crazy part is the reward isn't even the content of the notification. It's the anticipation of what it might be. It's the slot machine effect.
So that freedom to do deep work, to solve a hard problem, to get that real satisfaction that comes from mastering something, all of that requires you to actively regulate these internal circuits.
You have to move the reward from the click to the completion. And we see the consequences of failing to do this everywhere, that empty feeling after a long Netflix binge.
Oh, for sure. Or the anxiety you feel after an hour of just mindlessly scrolling, the sheer inability to just sit and focus on a report for 30 minutes.
There's a quote in the book that just nails it. He says, "The brain under constant attack, scrolling endlessly, checking notifications, binge watching, that's the root of why we can't accomplish what we want."
And that reframes the whole problem, doesn't it? It's architectural, not moral. The issue isn't that you're lazy, it's that your brain has been chemically conditioned over and over to expect a quick, easy reward.
Which makes any task that requires real effort feel almost impossible in the moment.
So the goal of this book, The Mindset Shift It Demands, is that understanding and regulating this system is the only way to thrive, not just survive, in this digital age.
Okay, so with that foundation laid, that our brains are conditioned and we need a strategy to fight back, let's get into the 6 major lessons from the book. These are the practical, hands-on strategies for the rewiring process.
Yeah, let's do it. Lesson 1, know what dopamine really is and isn't.
Okay, so first, we have to correct the big mistake everyone makes. You hear dopamine, and you immediately think the pleasure chemical. Trenton says that's not just wrong, it's dangerously incomplete.
And this is so critical, right? Because if you think it's about pleasure, your goal is to get more of it. And that leads you straight into the trap we just talked about.
Exactly. The huge difference is that dopamine's main job isn't the feeling of pleasure itself. It's the anticipation of pleasure. It's the go signal. It's the chemical that gets you moving towards something you think will feel good.
So the actual feeling of satisfaction, of contentment that comes from other chemicals?
Often, yes. Things like endorphins or oxytocin, which get released after you achieve the goal. Dopamine is the energy of the pursuit, not the arrival.
That explains so much. It explains that paradox of chasing high doses. If it's about anticipation, then chasing fast hits doesn't make you happier. It just raises the bar for what you even find motivating.
Precisely. When your reward pathways are constantly flooded with easy stimuli, your brain fights back. It reduces the number and the sensitivity of its dopamine receptors. It's called downregulation.
It's building up a tolerance.
A profound tolerance. Your brain raises its baseline. And then, paradoxically, you need a much higher dose of stimulation just to feel normal, let alone motivated. You are literally desensitizing your brain to the simple joys of life and effort.
The analogy he uses for this is perfect. He says dopamine is like salt in food.
Right.
A little pinch enhances the flavor. It makes it motivating to eat. But if you just dump salt on everything you eat all the time, your taste buds get completely desensitized.
You get bland.
Exactly. The reward circuits get bland. And pretty soon you need a ridiculous amount of salt just to taste anything at all. You need huge stimulation to feel motivated by basic tasks.
So the application here is self-awareness. It's about starting to notice the pattern. Tonight, just pay attention to every quick, reflexive reward you chase and ask yourself, what reward am I actually anticipating here? And how long does the satisfaction last?
Recognizing that pattern is the first step to regulating it. Okay, that leads perfectly into lesson 2. Detox, the dopamine drain structured reset plans. So we know the problem is saturation. The obvious next step is a detox. But a lot of people worry that if they do that, they'll just kill their motivation for everything.
It's a really valid concern, and Trenton addressed it by being very clear that these are structured, finite interventions. They are not about extreme, indefinite self-deprivation. He offers 1-day, 3-day, and 7-day plans.
So the goal isn't zero dopamine.
Not at all. The goal is 0 low-value, high-stimulus dopamine hits. That's the key distinction. You still work, you still connect with people, you still move your body, you just cut out the junk food.
So the mechanism is really about changing the ratio of rewards. You temporarily cut off the fire hose of cheap inputs so that your brain's receptors can upregulate again. They can regain their sensitivity.
Exactly. You're giving your brain a chance to stabilize its baseline and relearn how to respond to purposeful, meaningful rewards, the kind that come from real effort.
Can you give us an example of what, say, a 3-day plan might look like?
Sure. A successful 3-day plan might combine a few specific rules. For instance, number 1, no consumption-based media. So no YouTube, no social media, no news feeds. Two dedicated timed work blocks where your phone is literally in another room. And 3, you replace all that entertainment time with high-effort, low-dopamine activities. Like cleaning the garage, reading a dense physical book, going for a long walk without headphones. What people report, and what Trenton notes, is that by day 3, this hunger for meaningful effort actually comes back. You feel sharper and more grounded.
The analogy he uses for this one is like rebooting a computer.
Yeah, I love this one.
When your computer gets slow and bogged down, you don't delete the operating system. You just clear the temporary files. You close all the needless background apps that are hogging the RAM. The detox frees up your cognitive RAM for the stuff that actually matters.
And for anyone listening who wants to apply this, the key is to make it measurable and finite. Pick a time frame. Maybe start with 1 day or 3, and commit to one clear rule, like For the next 72 hours, no digital entertainment. And then just track how you feel.
That initial discomfort is the signal that it's working.
It is. It's your brain complaining that you took away its favorite candy. But that resistance means the baseline is actively resetting.
Which brings us to lesson 3. Build habits that support healthy dopamine levels. Because detoxes are great, but they're not a long-term solution on their own.
Right. They're a reset button, but for sustainability, you have to integrate this into your lifestyle. This is where he really digs into the physiology of dopamine. You can't solve a chemical problem just with willpower.
We hear about the pillars all the time, right? Sleep, nutrition, movement. But how does Trenton connect those directly to our neurochemistry? Like, why is sleep deprivation a dopamine problem?
Because of the stress hormones. When you're sleep deprived, your body pumps out cortisol, and high cortisol levels chemically prime your brain to seek out quick, high-dose dopamine hits just to balance out that stress and agitation.
So you're biologically wired to crave coffee, sugar, and your phone just because you're tired.
Exactly. It's the same with food. Erratic eating, especially highly refined foods, causes these massive glucose spikes and crashes, which in turn leads to erratic dopamine spikes and crashes. It fuels the craving cycle.
So stable, even boring routines are actually the bedrock of peak performance because they support a regulated, steady chemical release, which improves our endurance for hard tasks.
Totally. Think about the real-life result. If you establish a consistent 9 to 10 a.m. focus session every morning, and you've slept well and had a stable breakfast, your prefrontal cortex is just operating at its best. You get into a flow state faster.
And over time, that reinforces the positive loop. The effort feels good.
Right. You feel less drained midday because the effort is tied to real, durable rewards, not those fleeting hits.
The analogy here is simple, but so effective. Dopamine is the fuel for your car. Cheap, low-quality fuel, those bursts from late nights, sugar, distractions, it gets you moving fast, but it wears out the engine. It leads to breakdowns. What you want is consistent, premium fuel and regular maintenance. Stable sleep, good food, exercise.
The application is to just do a quick physiological audit. Pick one area that's inconsistent for you, sleep, diet, or movement, and just introduce one small dopamine-friendly habit this week. Maybe it's a 15-minute walk at lunch or a 10 p.m. lights out rule. That's it.
It's about building resilience against those craving cycles.
Okay,
lesson 4. Use focused work blocks and minimize distractions. This is where we move from our internal chemistry to our external architecture. We have to protect our focus.
And we have to understand what we're protecting it from. Trenton really highlights the devastation of what he calls the task switching trap.
This is when you're jumping from an email to a Slack message back to a document.
Yes. And every time you switch and complete a tiny action like sending that one email, you get a little dopamine hit. Win! I did a thing! It feels productive, but it's sabotaging deep work because it's exhausting your prefrontal cortex.
So you get all these many rewards, but you pay a huge cognitive tax for them.
A massive tax. The antidote is to design these protected work blocks where focus is sacred. By committing to that and actively delaying the easy rewards, you're training your brain. You're building patience. The reward shifts from the distraction to the completion of the actual complex task.
And the satisfaction from that is so much better.
It's chemically superior. When you finish a 90-minute deep work block with your phone off and no interruptions, the feeling you get is linked to meaning and tangible progress. It's a much higher quality reward than 100 little pings. And that feeling reinforces the behavior. Your brain starts to prefer it.
The analogy for this one is popcorn versus dinner.
Yeah.
Popcorn, which is all the digital distractions and task switching, gives you these quick, empty bursts of satisfaction. They disappear immediately, you feel hungry again, and you're just left feeling cognitively empty.
But dinner deep work takes time and effort to prepare. But it gives you lasting nourishment, real energy, and a deep sense of completion.
The application here is a simple commitment. Tomorrow, just set a 60-minute timer for a single important task, and be ruthless about zero interruptions. Turn off the Wi-Fi if you have to. Then after, just compare the feeling of accomplishment to how you normally feel after a scattered day.
That feeling is the data you need to keep going.
Exactly. Okay, lesson 5 is a big one. Recognize the dopamine trap of instant gratification and social media.
Yeah, we have to spend some real time here. Because these devices, these feeds, they are not neutral tools. They are highly optimized psychological machines, and they are designed for maximum exploitation of our anticipation loops.
It's the engineering behind them that's so insidious. Trenton explains that every scroll, every like, and especially the unpredictability of notifications, it's all based on a variable reward schedule.
Which is the core principle of a slot machine. It's what makes gambling so addictive. You don't know when the next reward is coming, so you just keep pulling the lever, you keep scrolling.
And that trains the brain to expect quick, low-effort rewards all the time.
The consequence for achievement is, it's profound. Any task that requires delayed gratification learning, an instrument, writing a book, getting in shape, it starts to lose all its appeal. Why would you struggle with a complex problem for an hour when you can scroll for 90 seconds and get 20 guaranteed, effortless dopamine hits?
Your brain has been trained to want the sugar.
It's been trained to take the path of least resistance, chemically speaking.
We have all been in that state. You open an app to check one thing, and 20 minutes later, you kind of snap out of this scrolling haze, and you just feel empty and ashamed.
That feeling of emptiness is the signal. That's the chemical crash. That's your brain telling you the reward was low value.
Yeah.
You have to learn to use that feeling as a trigger to consciously pause and switch to something meaningful.
The analogy here is another food one, sugar versus whole grain carbs.
Right. Social media is the instant sugar. It gives you a huge, immediate high, followed by an inevitable crash and an even deeper craving for more.
Whereas the whole grain carbs, that's the deep work, the learning. It provides sustained, regulated energy. It keeps the engine running smoothly.
So the application has to be architectural. It has to be about setting limits. Pick one low-effort reward you overuse, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's news feeds, and set a strict external limitation. For example, I will only check this between 5:00 and 5:15 p.m.
And then the crucial part is to replace that time with something else.
Yes. You have to replace it with a meaningful, low-barrier activity. Read a chapter of a physical book. Call a friend. Do 10 minutes of stretching. Something that fills the void with value, not just another distraction.
Okay, that brings us to the final and maybe most important lesson. Lesson 6. Rewire toward long-term meaning, not short-term buzz.
So if the whole problem is misaligned anticipation, the solution has to be intentional alignment. This is the big shift. It's about going from being reward-chased, where you're just a passive victim of your own impulses, to being reward-directed, where you actively choose what motivates you.
This feels like it's about more than just managing symptoms. It's about changing your identity.
It is. When you can align your internal reward system with deep, meaningful tasks, learning a skill, creating something, helping others, something really powerful happens. Your motivation becomes sustained. Your resilience against burnout goes way up, and your fulfillment deepens because the satisfaction is tied to growth, not just consumption.
Trenton introduces this idea of meaningful frustration. What's that about?
It's the difficulty you experience while you're solving a complex, worthwhile problem. It's not the same as the sharp, anxious frustration you feel when you can't find your next dopamine hit. When your brain is healthy, it recognizes this struggle as being part of a higher purpose, and the reward you get for overcoming it is immense.
So a practical example would be something like committing to a learning project.
Exactly. Say you want to learn to code. You commit to 30 minutes a day. Every session you complete is a small, conscious win. You track it. Over months, your brain starts to retune itself. It starts to associate the satisfaction of getting better, of building competence, with the effort itself rather than with the noise of distraction.
It's reestablishing that effort-reward relationship that the modern world has basically broken.
That's in a nutshell.
The analogy for this final lesson is beautiful. It's the concept of two gardens.
I love this one.
One garden grows quick-sprouting weeds. It's shallow, it's easy, it takes no patience, and it gives you a rapid result, but one that's ultimately empty.
The other garden grows fruit trees. It requires constant effort, patience, and delayed gratification. But the harvests are rich and enduring. The whole goal of mastering your dopamine is consciously choosing to cultivate that second garden.
So the ultimate application here is to define one meaningful, say, 6-month project, something that really matters to you. Break it down into weekly milestones. And this is key. When you hit a milestone, you have to give yourself a conscious, appropriate reward. A long walk, time for a hobby, a special meal.
You're consciously linking the satisfaction to the effort. That's what seals the new neural pathway.
So beyond these 6 lessons, Trenton provides some supporting frameworks to make sure this all becomes a sustainable system, not just a list of tips.
Right. And the first one is about understanding the mechanics of the trap itself. He calls it the dopamine loop model. It's a 4-step cycle. Trigger, anticipation, reward, reset.
And the key is what happens in that reset phase, right?
Yeah, exactly. The critical insight is that the faster and more intensely you run through that loop, like checking your phone 50 times an hour, the higher your brain sets its tolerance baseline, and the lower your sensitivity gets to normal, healthy rewards. So the whole strategy is about slowing that loop down.
Which brings us back to the detox scheduling. Those 1, 3, and 7-day resets aren't just about taking a break. They're specific tools to recalibrate those reward circuits. During that time, the brain can finally allow those D2 receptors to increase their sensitivity again. It's a physiological system upgrade.
Then there's habit stacking for neurooptimal performance. And this is where he introduces a really useful term, reward coupling.
Reward coupling, what is that exactly?
It's strategically linking a challenging task that you tend to put off with a predictable, small, but guaranteed reward immediately after. So you condition your brain to associate the effort with the success. For example, after I practice guitar scales for 30 minutes, the hard part, I will immediately enjoy 1 cup of my favorite high-quality coffee, the meaningful reward.
I see. So that leads directly into the idea of focus reward architecture. This is about designing your whole day, your whole environment.
Right, and the big rule is, high-effort tasks should never be immediately followed by low-effort, high-stimulus consumption. So if you finish a huge report, the reward shouldn't be 2 hours of scrolling TikTok.
It should be something high quality.
High quality and restorative. An hour of quality time with your family, a deep conversation with a friend, a workout, something that actually recharges you. The brain has to learn that high effort leads to durable satisfaction.
Finally, he really emphasizes the biofeedback elements.
Yes. We can't ignore the physical side of this. The health of your gut microbiome, for instance, directly influences the production of neurotransmitters, including the precursors to dopamine. Poor gut health means your brain's ability to regulate mood is already compromised, making you way more susceptible to craving quick fixes.
So sleep, movement, gut health. They aren't just nice to have. They're fundamental to stabilizing the chemical environment that your motivation operates in.
They make your motivation reliable instead of volatile. These frameworks take the 6 lessons and turn them into a cohesive system. You're not just changing habits, you're managing your entire internal chemical ecology.
Okay, the theory is powerful, but now let's get down to brass tacks. Based on everything we've talked about, here are 10 practical, actionable takeaways from the book you can start using today.
And we'll start with awareness, because that's always the first lever you can pull. Number 1 is the tonight log.
Okay, what's that?
Before bed, just write down all the quick reward behaviors you did today. Every unnecessary phone check, every time you switched tabs because a task felt hard. Just notice the frequency. The rationale here is to make the problem visible. It stops being a vague feeling and becomes a measurable data point.
I like that. Okay, number 2, detox choice.
Just choose one manageable detox, a small one. For example, commit to no social media before noon for just 3 days. That targeted reduction forces a rapid but controlled reset of your tolerance levels.
Number 3, the deep work window.
Block out 60 to 90 minutes tomorrow for your most difficult task.
Yeah.
And be ruthless. 0 interruptions. Phone in another room turned completely off. This protects your prefrontal cortex from that cognitive tax of task switching.
Number 4 is about the physical side, a physiology tweak.
Introduce one mild positive stressor. This could be a 15-minute cold shower, a 10-minute high-intensity walk, or 10 minutes of meditation. Cold exposure, for instance, causes a controlled, non-addictive release of dopamine that boosts focus without a crash.
Great tip. Number 5, reward replacement.
Identify one low-value reward you use, like scrolling after finishing an email, and consciously replace it with a meaning-oriented one. Maybe finishing a tough chapter earns you a phone call with a friend. You're actively replacing a fleeting hit with a high-quality reward.
Number 6 is the anticipation check.
Before you start a big task, consciously visualize the specific, lasting satisfaction you'll feel when you finish it. Ask yourself, can I delay gratification right now for a better one later? You're training your dopamine system to aim for the bigger target.
Number 7, daily reflection.
At the end of the day, ask, where did my dopamine go today? Which tasks gave me meaningful, lasting hits versus shallow, fleeting ones? This metacognition teaches your brain to recognize the qualitative difference between rewards.
Making the right choice the easy choice. Number 8, environment setup.
This is simple. Disable one non-essential notification permanently. Or be drastic and remove one major distraction app from your phone for just 2 days. Every notification is a trigger. Removing the trigger breaks the cycle before it even starts.
Number 9, progress milestone.
For a larger goal, schedule a weekly milestone and link it to a meaningful restorative treat. A hike, a coffee meetup. This provides that intermediate positive feedback that sustains motivation over the long haul.
And finally, number 10, the 6-month commitment.
Commit to one long-term project right now. Break it down into weekly mini-wins and then make sure you track and celebrate the progress of these wins, not just the final completion. This tunes your brain to the steady reward of growth and competence.
This deep dive into Master Your Dopamine, it just makes it so clear that the path to focus isn't about, banning all pleasure or having perfect willpower.
Not at all. It's about understanding the system and making intelligent choices about what you feed that system.
Trenton gives us this practical toolkit to make a really profound internal change, to move from constantly needing more stimulation, which just leads to depletion, to a place of sustained focus and satisfaction that comes from meaningful work.
There's a great line near the end where he says, tiny daily habits lead to long-term mental clarity and emotional balance. And that's really the core of it.
That is the ultimate shift. When you start applying these lessons, these frameworks, these 10 actions, you'll notice it. Your attention holds longer. Hard tasks feel less like a struggle. And your days end not with that exhausted, empty feeling of having scrolled your life away, but with a deep, meaningful satisfaction. It really is a profound change in your relationship with your own brain.
And the ultimate irony, I think, is that mastering your dopamine isn't really about working harder. It's about making your brain want the hard work. And that frees up so much energy that you used to spend just fighting distraction. And that freedom is where real achievement happens.
We really encourage you to just pick one thing, one detox, one focus block, one meaningful task, and start that rewiring process today.
Yeah.
Have the knowledge now. The power is really in the application. And if you found this book summary helpful, please make sure to subscribe to our channel